All right, we're ready to go. And we have our grand champion. We're going to start him out. Deb Hopkins, our breed superintendent, is going to line them up here. We're going to have you bring them in as I describe what they are and whose they are. We're going to have you stop over there by the scale, this first one. Yep, you come right on in. And then when we bring the last one in, we'll rotate the entire group. Here's our grand champion Rambouillet of the show, and it's an entry from Ken Scott of Pulaski, Pennsylvania. The animal's name is Scott 2525. He was a junior ram lamb, means he was born in the spring after the first of the year from the Rambouillet breed, and he weighed 195 pounds. Our second place ram, or second ram coming in here, which will be ring number 2. Those of you voting for the People's Choice, stop right there, Miss Smith. Those of you that are voting, this is contestant number 2, and he's the natural colored winner from the fine and medium wool division. He was exhibited by Andrew and Emmy Huckowitz of Hadley, Massachusetts. His name is Wolf 1834. He was a senior-born ram lamb and weighed 235 pounds. Next coming in will be our grand champion Tunis ram from the Swartz and Talley Tunis flock of Hunt, New York. He is Swartz and Talley 2015. He was born in February of this year, and our grand champion Tunis weighed 169 pounds. Next coming in the ring, bring in our grand champion Lincoln ram. He's from the Jonathan Cruz flock of Effingham, Illinois, and he is Cruz 18821. He's an intermediate born ram lamb, a junior ram lamb, and he weighed 160 pounds on the Cruz buck 1821. Cruz has also had, coming in the ring next, this is from Annabelle Cruz of Effingham, Illinois, and this is Cruz 18853. He is the junior ram lamb that weighed 113 pounds. Again, a natural colored Lincoln from the Cruz flock in Effingham, Illinois. Next, we're going to bring in our grand champion white Border Leicester ram, and he came from the Polly and Kevin Hopkins flock at Chepachet, Rhode Island. He is Hopkins 1826. He is an intermediate born ram lamb that weighed 130 pounds. Next coming in the ring will be our natural colored, or our black Border Leicester ram, and he was exhibited and bred by Sarah Jakeman of Canajoharie, New York on Jakeman 1803. The intermediate ram lamb that won weighed 146 pounds. Next coming in the ring will be our grand champion Katahdin, and he was exhibited by Leslie Raber of Sabattis, Maine. His name is EHJ 830. He's an intermediate born ram lamb that weighed 195 pounds from the Leslie Raber flock of Maine. Next coming in will be our grand champion Romney ram, our white Romney, and it's exhibited by Catherine Hieromas of Chichester, New Hampshire. He is named Little Hooves 757. He's a yearling ram, and he weighed 265 pounds from Catherine Hieromas of Chichester, New Hampshire. Next, let's bring on in our natural colored Romney, and he's from the Teresa Hieromas flock, also from Chichester. His name is Winding Wicks 57. He's an intermediate ram lamb that weighed 159 pounds. Next will be contestant number 11, and this is our grand champion Shetlet ram, and he's exhibited by Victoria Wiggins of Ashby, Massachusetts, and his name is Brayburn Painted Knoll 1713. He's a yearling ram from the Shetland breed that weighed 137 pounds from Victoria Wiggins. Our all other breeds wool winner is a Merino ram, and he was exhibited and bred by Kaylee Scott of Pulaski, Pennsylvania. His name is Scott 2483. He's a yearling ram, and he weighed 265 pounds from Kaylee Scott. That was contestant number 12. Next coming in the ring will be our Grand Champion Columbia Ram from the Steve Hampson flock of Shirley, Massachusetts. His name is Worm 702. He's a yearling ram. Again, our Grand Champion Columbia from Steve Hampson, and he weighed 357 pounds. Next will be contestant number 14. And this is our Grand Champion Corriedale Ram from the Christine Humphrey flock of Braintree, Massachusetts. His name is Outridge 1806. He's a junior ram lamb that tipped the scales at 152 pounds. Our contestant number 14 from Christine Humphrey. And last but not least is our Grand Champion Cotswold Ram from the Robert Eade flock of Addyville, Illinois. And this is Eade 409. He's a junior ram lamb that weighed 152 pounds. Contestant number 15 with the Grand Champion Cotswold. Follow Debbie around. Folks, let's give these exhibitors a wonderful round of applause for a great set of sheep. Those of you that are just strolling through the barn here just happen to be here at the right time at the right place. These are all the Grand Champions from the 15 different breeds and divisions that we exhibited here the past week. This is what we refer to as Wool Week. All the sheep in here place their primary emphasis on the production of fleece, with the exception of the hair sheep. We do have a Katahdin, and this is where the breed landed up in Wool Week because of the numbers, so they could balance between Meat Week a week ago and Wool Week this week. So we do have a hair breed in here, but the rest of the breeds here, their primary emphasis is on the production of fleece. We're going to let our three judges go through. We're going to have you walk again a circle here before we finish up. They're going to pull out 4 or 5, whatever their discretion is, pick out, get them down to another group, and then select one out of the whole kit caboodle. Working our show today is Mr. Brian Mason from Paula, Vermont. Brian is a noted sheep breeder, been from Oakham, Mass. Been breeding sheep here. He had some excellent animals that he showed here earlier this week. Likewise, the big fellow right in the middle of the ring, Matt Best. He had a wonderful set of tunas here. He and his wife Josie, and Matt's a very in-demand alpaca and llama shearer. So if you have a llama or alpaca that needs sheared, he can sure do it. Also, then finally, and last but not least, is Jake Reister of Washougal, Washington. Came all the way out from the state of Washington to help us judge the back half of our show here this week. We do believe he had some input from the judge of the first half of the week, Brian Schimmerhorn from New York Mills, Minnesota, that also helped us judge here last week, the first week here of our show. Once again, this is our Grand Champion Rams from all the different breeds and divisions. Starting our show here, we contestant 1 from the announcers and the bleacher side rolls all the way around to contestant number 15 on the left. Each of the three judges that are out here looking over our grand champions are very experienced sheep breeders. You'll notice a lot of variations in the appearance of these animals, 15 different breeds and divisions. So when you look out there, we have sheep with wool, we have sheep with hair, we have red-headed sheep, we have white-headed sheep, we've got all black sheep, we've got some that have some gray and different color variations throughout them. So in our rural world, and those of you that are in textiles, and those of you that just like to buy a nice wool sweater, this is where that wool comes from, primarily off of some of these breeds of sheep that are right out here in the ring. Many of you have heard of a nice merino sweater or merino fleece. The fourth buck from the exhibitor's left over there, number 12 I believe he is, that's a merino. That's the finest of the different breeds of sheep that we have out here. When we talk about fineness of fleece, we're talking about the diameter, the thinness in his case of that fiber, because the narrower it is, the smaller that fiber, the softer it is to the touch. And so a lot of times, a lot of your finest sweaters come from merino wool. Then looking around, the animals that have the variated fibers, the different multicolored fleeces, those fleeces are in high demand because when the spinners like to spin them, you get that variation of the colors there. So if you just imagine putting some yellow or maybe a brown dye or a tan dye on some of these fleeces, how nice it's going to look when the product is finished. We're going to let our judges work here again, discuss a little bit, and then for the benefit of all of us that can see them again as well as the judges to get a different perspective, we're going to have everybody's going to take a big lap around the ring, one more circle here before they get down to their first or their final 4 or 5 or 6 selections here out of this group. At this time, we're going to have you make a lap around the ring here. Starting here, the young lady in the blue sweater has contestant number 1, and that's our grand champion Rambouillet Ram from Kaylee Scott of Pulaski, Pennsylvania. The natural colored fine and medium champion is right behind her from the Andrew and Emmy Huckowitz flock of Massachusetts. The red-headed ram is contestant number 3, the grand champion Tunis from Swartz and Talley of New York. And behind him, contestant 4 is the white Lincoln champion from Jonathan Cruz of Illinois. Next is the natural colored Lincoln from Annabelle Cruz, also of Illinois. Contestant number 6, a white Border Leicester champion ram from Polly and Kevin Hopkins of Chepachet, Rhode Island. Our natural colored Border Leicester champion ram is exhibited by Sarah Jakeman of Canajoharie, New York. Contestant 8 is the Grand Champion Katahdin ram from Leslie Raber of Maine. Contestant number 9 is White Romney, the champion from Catherine Horomas of Chichester, New Hampshire. The natural colored Romney came from Teresa Horomas, also from New Hampshire. Contestant number 11 is the Grand Champion Shetland from the Victoria Wiggins flock of Ashby, Massachusetts, and our AOB champion is the Merino, contestant number 12 from Kaylee Scott of Pulaski, Pennsylvania. The buck on the corner is our Grand Champion ram, contestant number 13 from Steve Hampson of Shirley, Mass. And our Grand Champion Corriedale is a ram lamb from Christine Humphrey of Braintree, Massachusetts. Number 15, our final ram, was the Grand Champion Cotswold ram from the Robert Eade flock of Addyville, Illinois. Okay, we have some rams here that we want to look at a little more closely. Over to the right side of the judges is contestant number 2 from the Andrew and Emmy Huckowitz flock. We have the contestant number 4, the grand champion White Lincoln from Jonathan Cruz of Illinois. Next we have the Hair Sheep, a Katahdin from Leslie Raber of Maine. That is contestant 8. Next is number 9, the grand champion Romney Ram from Catherine Horomas of New Hampshire. And right beside it is Teresa Horomas with her natural colored Romney. Shed a light on things, didn't it? Got dark back over there, too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for coming here to our show today. Before we turn the mic over to one of our 3 judges here, we do want to recognize our People's Choice winner. And this family is going to be very, very happy and very shocked. And we're very proud that the people chose entry number 13 from Steve Hampson, the grand champion Columbia over there. Give that man and his wife a nice bottle of wine from the New York booth over there. Yes, sir, and we'll get pictures here after a while. Congratulations, Kim. And now we're going to let our judges take it away and tell us who they like the best.
Really good set of bucks out here to kind of get out and analyze, and so tip of the hat to the exhibitors for bringing out some really high quality sheep. I mean, you get around the country and you get the opportunity to judge a few places. Why getting to see this many good ones in the same place is pretty awesome. So tip of the hat to the breeders. Certainly have been a good set to get through. We brought out 5 bucks. We thought when we start talking about them for the breed really excel. We have some differences in type and kind, and had some back and forth, and at the end we all said the same sheep, and it's going to be your Katahdin Ram. It's going to be your Supreme Champion Ram.
Our grand champion Ram goes to Leslie Raber of Sept, Maine. Congratulations. And Donna Woolham, our director of education and our superintendent here at the Big E. We're going to get a picture of the 3 judges with Donna and Leslie Raber. Steve Hampson, we'll get yours here after bit 2. Who are we missing there, Debbie? All right, we're going to go on and start. And we're going to begin here with our grand champion ewes of all the different breeds, the 15 different breeds and divisions here we had of week 2. We're going to start out here with our grand champion Rambouillet ewe. And this is an entry from the Clay Allison flock of Hemlock, New York. This will be our contestant number 1, and if she likes the shavings, that's fine. Get her over here on the wood shaving. She'll probably move better. And when we get her in, she is Balk 7-63. She's a senior ewe lamb from the Rambouillet breed. Debbie, do we have the weights? Mine doesn't. Our Rambouillet ewe came out of the senior ewe lamb class. And our winning ewe weighed 193 pounds. All righty, next will be all righty, and next will be our natural colored fine and medium grand champion. It's from Morgan Syme of South Windsor, Connecticut. On Wolf 1813, she's a senior ewe lamb and tipped the scales at 219 pounds. That'll be contestant number 2 from Morgan Syme. Next will be contestant number 3, our grand champion Tunis ewe from Emma and Brooke Kyle of Honeoye Falls, New York, with Macaulay 1710. She's a yearling ewe, and she weighed 207 pounds from Emma and Brooke Kyle of New York, contestant number 3. All right, Beverly Boersma is going to bring in from Murfreesboro, Illinois, our grand champion white Lincoln ewe. And Bev's ewe is Boersma 17106. She's a yearling ewe that weighed 232 pounds, our white Lincoln grand champion ewe from Beverly Boersma, contestant number 4. Here comes in the ring contestant number 5, our natural colored Lincoln ewe from Annabelle Cruz of Illinois. This is Cruz 17408. She's a yearling ewe, and she weighed 235 pounds. Contestant number 5 from Annabelle Cruz from Illinois. All right, contestant number 7 coming in the ring is our white Border Leicester ewe from Polly and Kevin Hopkins of Chepachet, Rhode Island. She's Hopkins 1742. She's a yearling ewe, and she weighs 197. Next up will be Sarah Jakeman with contestant number 7. Our natural colored or our black yearling ewe from the Border Leicester breed. It's Jakeman 1710. She's a yearling and weighed 196 from Sarah Jakeman of Canajoharie, New York. All right, Ray, you're next. Here comes contestant number 8, our grand champion Katahdin ewe from Leslie Raber of Sabattis, Maine, and that is EHJ 781. She's a senior ewe lamb, and she weighs 175 pounds. Contestant number 8 from Leslie Raber in Maine. Here comes entry number 9, and this is our grand champion white Romney ewe. And she's from the Emma Rogers flock of Danielson, Connecticut, and she is Morton 143. This is a yearling ewe that weighed in at 218 pounds. The white Romney champion ewe, contestant 9 from Emma Rogers. Teresa Horomas is going to bring in our grand champion natural colored Romney ewe. And Teresa's from Chichester, New Hampshire. This is Winding Wicks 39. She's a yearling ewe that weighed 182. All righty. Contestant number 11 will be our grand champion, Shetland ewe, from Alexandra Springs Tube of Stockbridge, Massachusetts. This is Springs Tube Penelope. She's a yearling ewe that weighs 106 pounds from Alexandra Springs Tube in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Next coming in the ring will be our All Other Breeds Wool ewe, and this is a Merino. She's our grand champion from that division, and she has got 24.79. She's a yearling ewe, and she weighed in at 214 pounds, contestant number 12 from Kaylee Scott. Bring on in our contestant number 13 will be our grand champion Columbia ewe, and she's from the Cruitt Sheep Farm of Findlay, Illinois. This is Cruitt 18.8. She's a fall born or a senior ewe lamb, and she weighed 208 pounds from Findlay, Illinois, Cruitt Sheep Farm, contestant 13. Next will be contestant number 14, our grand champion Cordell ewe of the show. And she was bred by Christine Humphrey of Braintree, Massachusetts. This is Owlridge Farm 1721, and she weighed 212 pounds. Finally, coming in the ring will be our grand champion Cotswold ewe from the Robert Eade flock of Addyville, Illinois, with Eade 487. She's a grand champion ewe, a yearling ewe, and she weighed 252 pounds from Robert Eade of Addyville, Illinois, contestant 15. Folks, let's put our hands together while they bring these sheep around. Let's give them a nice round of applause for a terrific set of ewes out here today. Once again, the first ewe up there to the judge's far right is our contestant number 1. The final ewe in the line is number 15, so you can count right around the corner there and figure which contestant is yours, your favorite. If you did not pick up a pink ballot, raise your hand. We have folks here that will be happy to select your ballots. Donna will check and see if there's anybody here to the north side of the ring. Is there anybody here to the right side, the south side, that doesn't have a ballot? You raise your hand and we'll get you a ballot. You be the judge. You're going to vote for one of these fine exhibitors here is going to get another nice bottle of wine from the New York wine exhibit that's right over here beside us. It's also where the new fiber nook, the new wool nook is, and we want you to be sure and check it out. It's also air conditioned. while we watch our judges work around the ring here, those of you that are just browsing through the barn here, we sure want to welcome you here. What we're doing now, you're wondering, why do we have all these sheep that look so different? What are they looking at? Well, these were all the grand champions of each of the breeds of sheep that were shown here this past week. We started last Friday with these guys over here on the judge's right. That's the Rambouillet. We started Friday morning at 9 o'clock, and we ended up at 3 o'clock with the big guy down here in the green shirt on the left. And we've been judging 2 and 3 different breeds of sheep a day, and these are all the different breeds that we have here at week 2 of the Big E. When you look up here behind where we're announcing here from this front table, you'll see a lot of banners up here that have many of the different breeds of sheep. This set of animals in the ring now, their primary purpose is for the production and improvement of the wool quality here in America. These are what we refer to as a wool sheep. Their fleeces are longer than the ones we showed last week. And again, you'll see the judges parting that wool. They're looking, they're handling, they're touching, they're feeling how good that fleece is, which is one of the real high things that we're looking at here to consider when we're picking our, not only the breed champions and placings in the class, but definitely now that we're getting to our Supremes overall. We're going to pick one animal is going to be the Supreme Champion ewe. You'll see them as they also go through these animals. They're not only looking at the wool, but you'll see them putting their hands on the back or right back there in the rib area. You're thinking, well, what are they doing there? Well, those are indicators of muscling. And when you see them handle the rump of the sheep, that's where the leg of lamb comes from. And up on the back of the animal is where the lamb chop comes from. So they like to go through. They're looking at these different animals from a different perspective. You'll see them putting their hands there. They're trying to see how much meat and muscling's under there, because you know, if we get done shearing and we don't have a very good product, we're going to eat that animal. That's going to go to slaughter, and these are going to be the animals, not them, not the ones in front of us, but perhaps their offspring or their sons and daughters are going to produce lambs that are going to be ending up in the market. So when they feel the animal down the back, they're checking for the loin eye area. That's where the lamb chop comes from. That's our most valuable cut of meat. When they handle the rump, again, that's where the leg of lamb comes from. And that's our second primary cut of meat here on a sheep. And of course, again, the wool is of utmost importance. Other things they're considering here is the soundness of the animals. We're going to get to see them all walk in a circle again, so they do have a certain walk about them, or what we refer to as their gait. And we like an animal that walks and strides out smoothly and easily. We don't like them with their hind legs walking up underneath their body, or when they roach their top. We like them to travel freely and smoothly is the terms they'll use. From the side, they can see how much bone or how much timber's underneath each of these animals, and we like the animals to have a lot of good bone. They like to have good muscling. We like them to have a nice length of body. And then last but not least is we stress breed character. All the animals in the ring here are registered. They have different breed criteria and breed standards. They have different breed standards, and we adhere to that. And that's what makes one breed look different from the next. So when you look out there again, you'll see, looking out here, breeds that have wool up on the face. You'll see red-headed sheep out here. You'll see all white-headed sheep, all black-headed sheep. Again, some with no hair at all or no wool at all. Those are hair sheep. On down here to the judge's left side, which again are all wool sheep. So we'll sit back and watch them here. Again, if you didn't get your ballot in, All right, we're going to ask our contestants here. Keith Stumbo, let's bring that mic. Let's bring that you right around the corner here. She's walking. Once again, we're going to recognize here the first you in the line is contestant number 1, a Rambouillet from the Clay Allison flock of Hemlock, New York. Contestant number 2 is the natural colored ewe that was exhibited by Morgan Syme of South Windsor, Connecticut. Our Tunis ewe is contestant number 3 from Emma and Brooke Kyle of Honeoye Falls, New York. Beverly Boersma from Illinois has the White Lincoln in contestant number 4. And Annabelle Cruz, another Illini with the natural colored champion ewe. Our White Border Leicester champion came from the Polly and Kevin Hopkins flock of Chepachet, Rhode Island. And Sarah Jakeman of Canajoharie, New York, with the natural colored Border Leicester champion ewe. Number 8 is a Katahdin from the Leslie Raber flock of Maine. And number 9 comes out is our Grand Champion Romney ewe from Emma Rogers of Danielson, Connecticut. Number 10 is the natural colored Romney ewe from Teresa Horomas of Chichester, New Hampshire. Number 11 is our Grand Champion Shetland Ram from Alexandra Springstube of Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Contestant number 12 is our AOB champion ewe. She's a Merino from the Kaylee Scott flock in Pulaski, Pennsylvania. And our Grand Champion Columbia ewe from the Cruitt Sheep Farm of Illinois. Next is our Grand Champion Corriedale ewe from Christine Humphrey of Braintree, Massachusetts. And then again, number 15, our Cotswold ewe from the Robert Eade flock of Addyville, Illinois. Folks, these are all your Grand Champion ewes here of our Eastern States Exposition here at the Big E. A lot of these sheep will be heading off in November to a show down in Louisville, Kentucky. And a lot of the national shows are held there. But there's no show ring in the country that has more champions there than Louisville than the one right out here. Every year, many of these sheep will go on and become national champions. That's the quality of animals that you have out here in the ring that won in the Ram shows and also won here in the ewe shows. So every year, short of Louisville, there'll be more Louisville champions than in any other ring in the country than right here. We want to recognize again our 3 judges, Brian Mason and Matt Best, and also Jake Reister, who came from Washington to serve as our judge here as well this past week. Our first half of the show was judged by Brian Schimmerhorn, our judge from New York Mills, Minnesota. Here in our final lineup, we have contestant number 3, the Tunis, Beverly Boersma's, Lincoln, Polly and Kevin Hopkins, Grand Champion Border Leicester. We have contestant number 13, our Champion Columbia ewe from Steve Hampson, and contestant number, we're on the Rams. Cruitt's with that beautiful ewe lamb right there from the Columbias. And our Grand Champion Corriedale, contestant number 14 from Christine Humphrey. Once again, to recognize these one more time, our champion Tunis ewe from the Emma and Brooke Kyle flock. Beverly Boersma with the champion White Lincoln ewe. Polly and Kevin Hopkins with the champion Border Leicester. Cruitt Sheep Farm from Illinois with the champion Columbia ewe, and our Corriedale ewe grand champion went to Christine Humphrey of Massachusetts. Boy, you can tell this is close. There's just lots and lots of good ewes out here in our show ring. We had just under 700 head of sheep shown this week. Entered, we had just under 900 last week. All right, we're going to share the word. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank each and every one of you that came and helped us vote today for our People's Choice winner. And without further ado, we're going to put our hands together and congratulate Emmy and Andrew Huckowitz with... It's Morgan Syme with the geez, Morgan Syme. Apologies to Morgan. Dad and Mom are going to get that prize, that nice bottle of New York wine. To Morgan Syme, our contestant number 2.
Another group of sheep that are pretty solid all the way through, and we really thought that this was going to be tight, and then they got out here and it got really tight all the way through this. We kind of narrowed it down to 5 that we really kind of liked here. I think the Lincoln ewe is going to be your supreme champion ewe.
Now that's Beverly Boersma from Murfreesboro, Illinois. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give one more round of applause, not only to Bev, but to our 3 judges and to Donna and Nancy Miniter here. We have one more final judging here, and that's our Best Fleece Award. but we won't have a People's Choice Award on this. On the best fleece, it only goes to the 3 judges are going to make that final choice. Alrighty, let's bring in our grand champion, our champion fleece winners from each of the breeds. We're going to start out at this time with the champion Rambouillet. Fleece winner, our best fleece winner from the Rambouillets, came from Clay Allison of New York. And she's box 763. And she is a senior ewe lamb. She was also the champion in that show. Contestant number 2 will be our natural colored fine and medium ewe, or medium sheep, coming in the ring here, and it's from the Christopher Hopkins flock of Chepachet, Rhode Island. On Christopher Hopkins 1819, and it's a junior ram lamb. Mike will have you bring that, if you can, bring that ewe clear on around the ring. Contestant number 3 is our white Lincoln from the Joe and Carol Haddock flock of Jericho, Vermont. On Wool Hollow 1708, our best fleece Lincoln was a yearling ewe. Next, let's bring in our colored Lincoln, our natural colored Lincoln from the, also from Joe and Carol Haddock of Jericho, Vermont. This is Wool Hollow 1716, and she also is a yearling ewe. Our white Border Leicester best fleeced ewe came from Samantha Patty of Green, Rhode Island on Hopkins 1739, and she too is a yearling ewe. Contestant number 6 coming in the ring is our natural colored Border Leicester from the Sarah Jakeman flock of Canajoharie, New York, with Jakeman 1806, and she's an intermediate ewe lamb. Charlene Carlisle is going to lead in our white Romney best fleece winner. Little Hooves Romney's of Morristown, New Jersey, with Little Hooves 862, and that's an intermediate ewe lamb. Contestant number 8 will be the natural colored Romney from Cadence Higgins of Coventry, Connecticut, with Higgins 1872. She is an intermediate ewe lamb. Contestant number 9 is a Shetland, and this is a lamb from Olivia Tower of Bolton, Massachusetts, and her name is Olive Branch Juniper Berry. Next, let's bring in our champion fleece from the AOB division. This is a Merino ewe from the Kaylee Scott, Pennsylvania flock with Scott 2479, and she's a yearling. Next, bring in contestant number 11, our best fleece Columbia ewe from the Keith Stumbo family of Honeoye, New York, and this is Troxel 17289, and she is a fall-born ewe lamb. Contestant number 12 will be our best fleece Corriedale from the Asa Johnson flock in Baldwinville, Massachusetts, with Owl Ridge 1818. That's a junior ewe lamb. And finally, our best fleeced Cotswold. Here's from Circe Atkins of Griswold, Connecticut, with Cook Hill Ophelia, and this is a yearling ewe. Folks, let's put our hands together and recognize all these beautiful fleeced rams and ewes. They each won their own breed division. We have 14 contestants this time. The hair sheep is a non-wool sheep, so it is not participating, and thus we have the Tunis is not out here as well. So we have 13 entries, so be sure when you're looking around here, you'll notice the absence of the Tunis, which is a meat breed, and also the hair sheep is a meat breed as well. Once again, our judges are picking a best fleece sheep here overall, the one that most truly represents its breed. Each one of these different breeds have different lengths of fleece about them. They have different widths of fibers. Some are fine, some are long wools. So what they're trying to do is find the most ideal fleece that most closely represents the ideal of that particular breed. We won't be walking these sheep around. We won't need to look at them from that perspective. Instead, the judges are just going to go around the line here and check out the fleece quality on all of these animals.
I think we've had a real exciting event, and it's really fun for me. We don't get this selection out my direction to get to see, but so it was really nice to see the Woolbreeds come back, get analyzed, and see different people's opinions. Thank you to Brian and Matt for working with me here, and I thought that we're pretty much in unison agreement. It's going to be your White Romney. Is going to be your best fleece.
Little Hooves Romneys of Moorestown, New Jersey. Congratulations, Charlene, on a job well done. Folks, thank you very much for your attendance. Let's give your staff a nice round of applause. It's worked so hard to put a nice show together here. So many breeders, this is their favorite show of the year, and it's for the hard work that all of the staff that puts this on does. Thank you very much for your attendance, and drive safely on your way home.